Hey folks, today we're doing a camera test of the Moto G4 Play, which is the low-end phone in the Moto G4 series of phones. I can already tell the camera has a lot less steadying on it. If I just shake it a little bit like that, it shows up on the screen a hell of a lot more. But hey, we got some new scenery. I got a box for a TV here. You can see there's some nice red in there. And then there's the yellow boombox still, with a bunch of stuff behind here. The color of the Windows 7 disc. And the nice part about this is, just like the G4 Plus, you can also turn the light on using the camera's interface. Which means even the low-end version of the Moto G will also allow you to have a light while recording, which is really handy for indoor recording. So while I like the steadying better of the Moto G4 Plus, this is still pretty good. It's an 8 megapixel sensor, as opposed to the 16 that I think the other one has. I think it's 16. It's substantially higher than this, but this shoots in 1080p at the highest, so there you have it. I think it's time to do an outside test. Okay. Caw. That seems to be a theme with some of these camera test videos. Anyhow, we're doing the outside test again. Seems to do pretty well out here. I'd expect this to do similar to my Moto G3 as far as a camera test goes. This actually has a less resolution than the Moto G3 does. I think the G3 has a 13 megapixel sensor, whereas this is only 8, and the front camera's 5. So it's interesting. It's interesting what Lenovo has done with Motorola's product line and the choices they've made. This has a low-end camera sensor, but it still has the Snapdragon 410 with 2 gigs of RAM and a removable battery and an SD card slot. So the feature set's actually really nice, but it still makes itself a low-end phone. It has a removable, I think, a Model GK40 battery in it. There's the bird feeder. I keep calling this a bird house for some reason. Probably because it just looks like one. There's a little bit of color there. The pond, by this time of year, has a net over it to prevent leaves from accumulating in it, which is basically sediment, more or less. And there's the sound of the water. So I guess we should look more at the bushes instead. Some of the rocks here in the garden. Still very nice. So what do I think of the Moto G4 Play? Interesting feature set. I like the removable battery. I like that. I like the SD card slot. I like that it has the Snapdragon 410 in it, so it should be a pretty well supported chip. Other than that, it reminds me of just a lower end G4 Plus, a Moto G4 Plus. Not a bad phone at all. This phone is $150. Now you want to compare that with the blue phone that I made a video of, which actually didn't last a week before I had to return it. This one, on the other hand, for about twice the price, will probably last a while, and if the battery goes, you can just buy another one and use it. In fact, I have a spare battery on the way from China, because I've been having a hard time finding them. So I ordered it directly from China, and I'll have a spare battery for this thing. So what do I think of this? I think it's a good idea. What Motorola's doing with their product lines, I think, is a little experimental at this point. But I like this price point. I like the $150 price point. It gives you that removable battery. It gives you that SD card slot. But it's just expensive enough that the phone doesn't fall apart in your hands. So it's kind of nice. I think it's a good idea. So let's give the front-facing camera a try. Alright, there's the front-facing camera. This is a 5 megapixel sensor, I think. So I don't know how this is going to look. Probably nowhere near as good as the other camera did. Oh, that darkens my face right up. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, this is Motorola's low-end option. This is essentially replacing the Moto E, the Moto G4 Play. So much so that I've seen some videos in other countries where this is actually called the Moto E3. So, as far as the model number goes, so you can kind of see why they got rid of the Moto E model of phone, Motorola, and went with the Moto G4 Play. This is actually better than the Moto E, in my opinion, because you get the removable battery and you get more features out of it, and you get a better. Well, actually, you get the exact same SoC as the second gen Moto E has. So, I don't know, man. You have twice the amount of RAM. That's really the only difference. I think the camera's better too. You actually get a flash, so that's a big improvement. So that's the front-facing camera there, and we're back to the back camera. So overall, I think as a successor to the Moto E, I think the G4 Play is a very well-deserved successor. It does very well. The battery life is great. It has a 2800 milliamp hour battery. At least that's what it advertises. It's a little bit less than that, but that doesn't make much of a difference. And the best part is it's a removable battery, so you can have spare batteries when you go on vacation. If you're gonna fly to Australia or something like that, where the flight is super long, you can always use multiple batteries, just as an example of when that'd be practical. So that concludes the camera test for the Moto G4 Play. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good one, everybody. Ciao.